Marcus had lived 3 doors down from Eleanor for 6 years. In all that time, they had exchanged maybe 40 words. A nod over the fence, a wave when the trash trucks came, once a borrowed ladder. He knew almost nothing about her. Just the small, strange facts a man notices about a neighbor without meaning to. That she was somewhere in her 70s. That her porch light came on at exactly the same time every evening. That she watered her tomatoes at dawn, in a faded blue cardigan, humming something he could never quite catch. And one thing more. That as far as he could tell, in 6 years of watching her come and go, Eleanor had never once left for work. No uniform. No commute. No tired return at 6 in the evening like the rest of the street. For 11 years, the man at the hardware store had told him that old woman had not held a job. Marcus had always assumed she was just lucky. A pension, maybe. A dead husband's money. He was wrong. And the morning he finally walked across the lawn to ask her, really ask her, was the morning he learned the one rule that the people who have money almost never say out loud. Stay with me here, because what she told him is something I wish someone had told me 20 years earlier. Before we go any further, I want to say something to you directly. If you are the kind of person who works hard, who shows up, who saves what little is left at the end of the month, and still feels like you are standing in the same spot you stood in 5 years ago, then this story was made for you. Because Marcus felt exactly that, and so did I, once. So, wherever you are listening from right now, tell me what time it is where you are. I genuinely want to know where the dawn is finding people today. And then stay with Marcus, because this is a true lesson, and it matters. Let's back up to where Marcus was that spring, 41 years old. A construction business that had folded 3 years before after a partner he trusted made promises Marcus ended up paying for. A marriage that did not survive the year that followed. A small apartment on the east side of town that he had recently traded for an even smaller rented house, the one 3 doors down from Eleanor. He was working again. That part had gotten better. He had taken a steady job with a mid-sized contractor, swinging a hammer for another man's company instead of running his own. The checks were regular. Not large, but regular. $3,200 a month, give or take, after they took their share. And every morning, before the world woke up, he did the thing he had started doing the year before. He sat at the kitchen table at 5. He wound his father's old watch, the one that had not ticked since the funeral, the one he wound anyway. He drank his coffee from the white ceramic mug he had had longer than he had had most things. And he tried to think. But here is what Marcus could not figure out, no matter how early he got up. The mornings had changed him. The mornings had given him back some part of himself he had thought was gone for good. But the math had not changed. The number at the bottom of his bank statement was almost exactly what it had been a year ago. Maybe a few $100s more. He was doing everything right. He was up before dawn. He was sober. He was steady. He was saving every dollar he could pinch. 50 here, 100 there, dropped into a savings account at the bank that paid him almost nothing to keep it. And he was getting nowhere. You know that feeling. When you are working harder than you have ever worked, doing all the things the responsible people are supposed to do, and the ground underneath you simply refuses to move. Marcus knew it. He had been living inside it. There was a particular night that captured it. His daughter, Lily, 14 now, sharp as a tack and twice as kind, had asked him over the phone whether they could take a trip somewhere that summer. Just the two of them. Nothing fancy, maybe the coast, and Marcus had said, "We will see," which they both knew meant no. Not because he did not want to, because he had run the numbers, the way he always did, and the numbers had said no for him. He had spent the years since the divorce becoming a man who said, "We will see," to his own child. And he hated it, and he did not know how to become anyone else. He lay awake that night, doing the thing he did most nights. Adding it up, subtracting it back down, arriving, every time, at the same flat zero. And what he did not understand yet, what almost nobody understands until somebody shows them, is that working hard and saving carefully are not the same thing as building something. He had confused not losing with gaining. They feel similar. They are not. He just did not have the words for it yet. Eleanor did. It was a Saturday in April when it happened. Marcus was out front, replacing a section of the fence that had finally given up after the winter. His tools were spread across the grass. The morning was that clean, washed kind of bright you only get in early spring, and the whole street smelled like cut wood and wet soil. Eleanor was in her garden, as she always was at that hour, kneeling over a row of seedlings in that faded blue cardigan. He did not plan to say anything. He almost did not. But the question had been sitting in him for years, and that morning, for no reason he could name, it just came out. "Eleanor," he called over. "Can I ask you something?" She looked up, brushing dirt off her gloves. "You can ask," she said. "Doesn't mean I will answer." He laughed despite himself, walked a few steps toward the low hedge between their yards. "You don't go to work," he said. "I mean, I have lived here 6 years, and I have never once seen you leave for a job. And I am not. I don't mean it rude. How do you do it?" Eleanor sat back on her heels. She studied him for a moment, the way older people study you when they are deciding whether you actually want the answer or just want to be impressed. Then she pulled off her gloves, one finger at a time. "Come sit down," she said. "I will make coffee. You look like a man who has been doing his sums and not liking the total." That stopped him, because that was exactly it. That was the thing he had not said out loud to anyone, not to his daughter, not to the man in the mirror at 5 in the morning, doing his sums and not liking the total. He set down the hammer and followed her inside. Her kitchen was small and warm and smelled like cinnamon and old paper. There were books everywhere, not finance books, he noticed. Novels, gardening guides, a worn one about birds. She poured 2 cups and sat across from him at a wooden table that had clearly seen 40 years of conversations like this one. "So," she said, "how much do you make?" He blinked. People did not ask that. $3,200 a month, he said. "After they take theirs." "And how much of it do you keep?" "I save what I can. Couple hundred, sometimes more." Eleanor nodded slowly. "And where does it go, that couple hundred?" "The bank, savings account. And what does it do there?" Marcus opened his mouth, closed it. "It sits there. It is safe." And Eleanor smiled, not unkindly. The way you smile at someone you are about to hand something they have needed for a very long time. "That," she said, "is the most expensive safe place in the world." "Let me tell you the difference between you and me, Marcus," Eleanor said, wrapping both hands around her cup. "It isn't that I am smarter. It isn't that I had more. When my Walter died, I had less than you have right now. I was 53, and I had a paid-off house and about $9,000, and a fear so big I couldn't sleep." She let that sit. "The difference is what I did with the dollar at the end of the month. You put yours somewhere safe. I put mine somewhere working." Marcus frowned. "Safe is safe. Safe is standing still," Eleanor said. "And standing still, when the cost of everything keeps climbing, is the same thing as walking backward. Slowly, politely, but backward. And here is what I want you to understand about that moment, because this is the part most people miss." Marcus had spent 3 years thinking his problem was that he did not have enough money to get ahead. That was never the problem. The problem was that every dollar he managed to save was being put to sleep instead of being put to work. He had been treating money like something you protect. Eleanor treated it like something you assign a job to. A dollar sitting in a savings account is not safe, it is idle. And idle money, year after year, quietly loses to the rising price of bread and gas and rent. He had been losing the whole time and calling it caution. Eleanor watched him absorb it. Then she told him the part she did not tell most people. "When Walter died," she said, "I sat in this kitchen for 3 weeks, and I was certain that I was going to lose the house before the year was out. I had been a school teacher. He had handled the money, all of it, his whole life. I didn't know what we owned. I didn't know what we owed. I knew where the checkbook was, and that was about the size of it. She turned her cup slowly on the table. And do you know what saved me? It wasn't courage. I didn't have any. It was that I was too frightened to do the comfortable thing. The comfortable thing would have been to clutch that $9,000 and not move a dollar of it, and watch it shrink one grocery trip at a time until there was nothing. Fear made me reckless enough to learn. That's the only reason I am sitting here in a paid-off house at 76 talking to you instead of in a rented room somewhere. Marcus said nothing. He was thinking about his own fear and how it had made him do the opposite. How it had made him freeze. Here is the thing nobody told me until I was past 50, Eleanor went on. Money, all by itself, is patient. It will sit wherever you put it and do exactly nothing for as long as you let it. It has no ambition of its own. She tapped the table once. It only starts to move when you give it a direction, a specific one. Not, I want to be rich someday. That is a wish, not a direction. I mean, this dollar is going here, to do this, and I expect it to bring me back something by then. Marcus thought about his savings account. He had never, not once, given that money a direction. He had only given it a hiding place. What did you do with yours? He asked. After Walter died, I learned one thing, just one. I learned how a small piece of a business, a share, they call it, pays you a little money 4 times a year just for owning it. Dividends. It sounded like a trick, it wasn't. I took 6,000 of my 9, and I bought pieces of companies that had been paying people for 50 years, boring companies. Companies that make soap and electricity and the things people buy whether they are happy or scared. She sipped her coffee. And those pieces paid me. A little at first. So little it was almost insulting. But I took every dollar they paid me and I bought more pieces. And those paid me too. You work the day shift, Marcus, Eleanor said. You trade your hours for dollars. Nothing wrong with that. I traded mine for 30 years. But there are only so many hours in a day, and you are already using most of them. She leaned forward. What changed my life wasn't working harder. It was teaching my money to work the night shift. While I slept. While I gardened. While I sat right here drinking coffee with a neighbor on a Saturday. Those little pieces I bought were out there earning, and I never had to wake up early for them. Not once. Marcus set his mug down very carefully, because something had just rearranged itself in his chest. He had spent his whole life believing there were only 2 kinds of people, the ones who worked and the ones who were born not having to. He had never once imagined a third option sitting 3 doors down from him in a blue cardigan, growing tomatoes. The third option was simple. You keep working the day shift, but you slowly, patiently, build a second worker who never sleeps, never quits, and never asks for a raise, your money. I can't do what you did, Marcus said. I don't have $6,000. I have got maybe 400 I could spare without missing a payment. Eleanor laughed, a real laugh, warm and surprised. $400, she said. Do you know what I would have given for someone to hand $400 Marcus the truth at your age instead of mine? I started at 53. You are 41. You have something I will never get back. You have time. She got up, rummaged in a drawer, and came back with a pencil and the back of an envelope. It is not the 400 that matters, she said, writing as she talked. It is the 400 every month, given a direction, left alone, with the little payments reinvested. That is the engine. Most people never start because 400 feels too small to matter. And that is exactly the rule the people with money never say out loud. She turned the envelope around, small, repeated, and left alone. That is the whole secret. It is so boring that nobody believes it. So they go looking for something exciting instead, and the exciting things take their money. You said it is the rule the wealthy never teach their neighbors, Marcus said. Why not? If it is this simple, why doesn't everyone say it? Eleanor was quiet for a moment. 2 reasons, she finally said. The first is that it doesn't sound impressive. Buy small pieces of boring companies and wait 20 years doesn't make anyone look clever at a dinner party. People want a secret that sounds like a secret. And the second? She looked at him with something close to tenderness. The second is that most people, when you finally tell them, don't do anything. You can hand a person the truth and watch them set it on the counter and never pick it up. So after a while, you stop handing it out. Not because it is secret, because it is lonely to keep offering something nobody takes. I am telling you, she said, because you walked across the grass and asked. Most people never ask. They would rather assume I am lucky. There was one more thing Eleanor told him before he left, and it turned out to be the hardest of all. You will want to touch it, she said, walking him to the door. That is the part I have to warn you about. The first year, you will check it every day. The market will drop 1 week, and you will feel sick, and you will want to pull it all out and run. Then it will climb, and you will feel clever, and you will want to gamble it on something exciting. Both of those feelings are the enemy. Both of them. She put a hand on the doorframe. The whole thing only works if you can do the one thing almost nobody can do. Leave it alone. Let it be boring. A garden doesn't grow because you dig it up every morning to check the roots. It grows because you water it and then walk away and trust the dark to do its work. And here is what I want you to understand about that, because it is the quiet hinge the whole story turns on. Everything Eleanor had taught him, the direction, the night shift, the small repeated dollar, none of it required intelligence. It required temperament. The willingness to be patient when patience feels like doing nothing. The willingness to be bored while everyone around you chases the exciting thing and loses. He walked home slower than he had walked over. Marcus went home that afternoon with the back of an envelope in his pocket and a feeling he did not trust yet. For 2 weeks, he did nothing. And I want you to stay with this part, because this is the part of the story that is the most honest. He did not fail to act because he did not believe Eleanor. He believed her completely. He failed to act because of something quieter and harder to admit. He was afraid, not afraid of losing the $400, afraid of what it would mean about all the years before. If Eleanor was right, if it really was this simple, this available, this boring, then every year he had left his money asleep in that account had been a year he had thrown away without knowing it. Acting now meant admitting that. And some part of him would rather stand still than face how long he had already been standing still. That is the trap, and it is a quiet one. It isn't laziness that keeps most people stuck. It is grief. Grief for the time already lost. It is easier to do nothing than to start and feel the full weight of how much earlier you could have started. The low point came on a Tuesday night. He pulled out his bank statement, the envelope from Eleanor, and a cheap notebook. He did the math she had shown him. What $400 a month, left alone and reinvested, might quietly become over 15 years, over 20. The number at the bottom made his hands go still. Not because it was huge, because it was possible. And because next to it, in his own handwriting, he had written the date he could have started if he had known at 30. He sat there for a long time, not thinking, just breathing. The kitchen was dark except for the small lamp over the table, and his father's watch sat where it always sat, frozen, faithful, useless, and somehow not. He almost put the notebook away. Almost decided it was too late, that the lost years had already decided it for him. Then he wound the watch. It still did not tick. It never would. But that was never the point of winding it. The point was that you do the small, faithful thing in the dark, before there is any proof it will matter. Because the proof only ever comes after. He opened his laptop. And before doubt could finish its sentence, he gave $400 its first direction. That was the beginning, not the end. 3 months passed. The first little payment landed in his account, a dividend. Eleanor's word, the most boring miracle he had ever seen. $4.16. He laughed out loud at the kitchen table when he saw it. Alone, at 5 in the morning, $4.16. For doing nothing. For the first time in his life, money had come to him while he slept. He did what Eleanor told him, He did not spend it. He sent it back to work. By the end of the year, the $400 a month had become a habit so automatic he stopped feeling it leave. The account that paid him almost nothing got smaller. The pieces that paid him 4 times a year got slowly, quietly larger. It was not dramatic. There was no single morning when everything changed. That was the part Marcus came to love most. There were no fireworks. There was just a direction, held steadily, day after ordinary day. The same way the dawn does not arrive in one burst, it just keeps getting lighter until one morning you realize you can see. He still worked the day shift. He would probably work it for years more. But now, underneath the day shift, something else was running. A second worker. One that never got tired, never quit, never asked him for anything except that he leave it alone and let it do its job. And on Saturday mornings, when he was out front with his coffee, he would look over at Eleanor in her garden in that faded blue cardigan, and she would lift her cup to him without a word. He understood it now. The thing she had been doing for 30 years was not luck. It was a decision, made small, repeated quietly, and protected from the part of us that always wants to spend the future on today. There is one more thing I will tell you, because Marcus would want me to. The following summer, he took Lily to the coast. Nothing fancy. A small rented room 2 blocks from the water. Sandwiches eaten on a beach towel. A long drive with the windows down. It did not come from the money he had put to work. That money he still left alone, still untouched, still quietly running its night shift. It came from the fact that he was no longer a man who had to say, "We will see." Somewhere in learning to direct his money, he had stopped feeling like the future was a thing happening to him. That was the real return. The $4.16 was never the point. The point was the day he stopped feeling powerless about the number at the bottom of the page and started, slowly, to believe it could move. So, let me give you what Marcus learned that spring, plainly, the way he would want you to have it. The first thing he understood, really understood, was that saving and building are not the same thing. Money kept safe is money kept idle, and idle money quietly loses ground every single year. The second thing was that money does nothing until you give it a direction. A real one. Specific. With a purpose and a timeline. Not a wish. The third was the one Eleanor called the night shift. You can only sell so many of your own hours, but your money can work while you sleep, if you let it. The fourth was that you start absurdly small, and that small, repeated, and left alone is the entire engine. It is so unremarkable that most people refuse to believe it, and go chasing the exciting thing instead. And the last thing, the rule the wealthy rarely teach their neighbors, is not really about money at all. It is that the truth is usually simple, usually available, and usually ignored. Not because people do not hear it. Because hearing it and acting on it are separated by a fear most of us never name. Marcus crossed a lawn he had walked past for 6 years and asked one question he had been too proud or too tired to ask before. That is all it took to start. One question, one walk across the grass. So, here is what I will leave you with, and I mean this as a real question, not a clever one. What is the thing you have been assuming is just luck, when it might actually be a door you have simply never walked up to and knocked on? The dawn does not wait for anyone, but it always comes.